Hey, Chillie Falls here. Good morning and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News. This will be volume 43 for July the 6th, 2019. I'm broadcasting from the farm in Forest, Virginia, outside of Lynchburg in Bedford County. Welcome one and welcome all. This is one of our three weekly live broadcasts to talk about travel and cruise industry and any facets of either. Got a couple updates to get to this morning and a couple news stories on the travel side of things. A little bit odd for today, and actually for once there's not a whole lot of news in the cruise side of things, so that's probably a good thing the way it's been going lately. But I got a couple things need to get to before we get to that. First of all, some of you have shown a great deal of concern over the fact that I had made mention of running around the house naked because the air conditioner died. Well, truth of the matter, I live in an old farmhouse. As a matter of fact, my part of the house where my room is, which I call the cave, was part of the house that was built in 1903. My sister and her better half live in a new addition, which is, I don't know when we put that addition on, 10 years ago or so. The old house has had several additions over the years, and it's made it into a big rambling farmhouse. And one of these storms we recently had apparently damaged the air compressor on my air conditioning unit in the old part of the house. And of course, during this stretch of 90+ degree days we've been having, the compressor decided to die on the holiday, on July the 4th. Couldn't have a better time for an air compressor to go, but a holiday, and when it's 95 degrees, and it died. So it was a little toasty in my room, and I made reference to the fact of running around the house naked because it's going to be, when we got the repairman in here, and we actually got him in here sometime Friday morning and found out it was the compressor, and it's going to be Monday or Tuesday before they can get it here. So we're without the air conditioning. And so that's where I made the comment of running around naked. Now, folks, I'm a big old fat old guy and probably not going to run around naked, to be perfectly honest about it, quite frankly. But it was a little toasty. So I had several people offer me bedrooms and say, come stay with us. We've got plenty of space and all that. I do appreciate that. Truth of the matter, we have created a way of using actually old box fans, the old floor type box fans, and the air conditioning on the new addition where my sister and her better half live, they upstairs, and there's a living room downstairs. That air conditioning still works, but the problem is getting it routed back into like my room and my niece's room, which is on the other side of the house. Those are the two hot spots. So we used box fans and we sucked the air conditioning out of the one half of the house and aimed it around, blowing into my room. And the temperature in my room last night was about 10 degrees cooler than it's been since early in the morning on the 4th. So it definitely was better. I slept a lot better last night. So, folks, you don't have to worry about me running around naked anymore, as I can survive now until the new compressor gets here on Monday or Tuesday. And so no more nakedity. How's that? All right. So my thoughts go out to family and friends in California. It was one thing to go through the worst earthquake you've had in 20 years, and then less than 24 hours, well, I guess it was about 36 hours later, you had one that was worse. They said there was a 60% chance of an aftershock being stronger than the earthquake it was, and apparently that came to fruition last night. You folks on the east coast of the United States haven't heard. They had another earthquake in the same area, that Ridgeway. It's about halfway from LA to Vegas, in that vicinity. And I've seen numbers anywhere from a 6.9 to a 7.3. So the aftershock was worse than the original quake. And if there is a thankfulness to this, the epicenter is in an area where there's not a whole lot of stuff. I mean, like, you could have a quake that magnitude, you know, close to some of the freeways in LA and just have disastrous results. Anyway, my thoughts are with all you guys out there. I have been in contact with I have relatives that live in and around the LA area, and everybody's safe and sound. They had to spend some time under the dining room table, but there was really not a whole lot of damage. So we're thankful for that. And my thoughts are with all you guys in California. It's definitely a tough time. Okay, let's get to a couple stories. First, an update. I put a video up yesterday about the crew member on the Carnival Victory that went overboard. And of course, a search ensued. They involved the United States Coast Guard, both air and ship. And then I had an update during the day yesterday that I never got confirmed, that they were getting ready to suspend the search at 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I could not get confirmation of that. And as of 7 p.m. last night, the United States Coast Guard said that the U.S. Coast Guard cutter William Trump continues to search for the overboard Carnival Victory crew member and was expected to continue through the night last night. Now, as of just before I went on live, I checked with the Coast Guard, and there is no more updates to that. So I'm assuming that the search continues. We're now into over 48 hours that this 37-year-old male has been in the water. And, you know, I hate to say it, folks, but that doesn't look good. Now, there is no information if this was accidental, if it was an intentional thing, which is possible, or if there were any problems with this individual. Of course, his name still has not been released. The last time this happened on the Carnival Victory was back in December. It was a younger guy. It was a 27-year-old male. And they determined quickly that it was an intentional thing. Carnival, some of the new modern ships, they have technology now for to help with overboard happenings. And basically, they're sensor and cameras that are somehow attached to the railings, and they notify the bridge as soon as somebody goes overboard. But it's expensive, and Carnival has chosen not to go that expense. Of course, you know, we're in a situation, those of you that cruise like I do, you know, that's just another thing that they'd have to add more to the cruise fares if they did that. But there is that technology available today. It happens a lot more than people realize. And I think many times they're intentional, but still, you know, it's a tough story, tough situation. I feel for not only this individual's family, but the Carnival Victory family as well. I know a lot of those, some of the tweets and stuff I've gotten from other crew members have been, they're hurting a lot. So apparently this was a fairly popular individual. So that's all we know at this time. The search continues. And I don't know how much longer that search is going to go. One other update, the Norwegian Pearl, which has been a bad situation. They have a technical issue. They canceled a couple ports of call on a cruise. The current cruise, which was a 13-dayer that was supposed to end yesterday in Rome, and the Norwegian Pearl still sits in Barcelona. The passengers on board had to find their way back home, trying to get airfare at the last minute in the middle of the season in that area, which clearly was not a good thing. Not only to mention that the people that were scheduled to leave from Rome for another 13-day cruise yesterday were notified at the last minute that, sorry, folks, but it's canceled. So you've got approximately 4,400 people that were affected by this. Needless to say, upset. And, Norwegian, there's a debate as to whether or not they've done all they should do or not. They've issued an apology to current and future guests after confirming that the mechanical issue had severely limited the Norwegian Pearl's itineraries. In a statement shared with Fox News, the cruise line explained that on July 1st, the ship had the issues which necessitated she travel at a reduced speed. As such, she did not call on Palma, Mallorca, and instead sailed directly to Barcelona, where further assessments were made. The ship at that time was carrying more than 2,000 people on a 13-day excursion through Northern Europe and the Mediterranean. Was supposed to stop in Monte Carlo and Livorno, Italy, but instead ended up staying in Barcelona. They provided the guests of the current sailing, that was the last sailing, with a 50% refund and a 50% future cruise credit, both based on the original cruise fare paid. They'll also cover up to $300 in flight change fees, NCL announced. They also announced that the ship's next voyage, the one that was supposed to leave on the 5th, which was a Greek Isles and Italy cruise, had been canceled altogether for the repairs to be made. And that, excuse me, passengers would receive 100% refund and 100% future cruise credit, both on the original cruise, based on the original cruise fare paid. A lot of folks were complaining that that was disappointing or unacceptable. Tough situation. I feel for Norwegian in this case, but I do believe that, man, when these things happen, you got to perk up and do all you can do. You got to get your passengers home. You've got to take care of the folks that were going on your next cruise. Many of those had already been traveling, that traveled to Rome to spend 2 or 3 days before the cruise left Rome. It could be people from this country, from the United States, that were going over there. I'm not sure what the demographics of that cruise were. But it was not a good situation. Debatable whether NCL could have done better. Personally, I think they could have. I think it could have been done a lot more personably and a lot faster. But anyway, that's the situation. Working on the repairs. Supposedly, all the passengers are off the ship now in Barcelona trying to get their way home. Again, coming up with a couple thousand people trying to get airfare out of a place like Barcelona at the last minute can be difficult. Which brings us up to the next story about Barcelona. Barcelona has been one of my favorite cities in the world. First time I was in Barcelona was back in the 70s, and I was staying at the old Plaza Hotel, which was one of the grand old hotels in any European city. One morning I was having breakfast, and Ed Asner, the legendary actor from the United States, who had been in Russia filming a movie, walked into the restaurant, which was full. I was sitting by myself, and he walked over to me and he said, "Excuse me, do you mind if I sit down and have breakfast with you?" I said, "Absolutely not. Sit down." I recognized him right away. And we sat there and chatted. Barcelona was his favorite city in the world. I've always liked Barcelona. Really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it when the Olympics was there. Of course, I didn't go to the Olympics there, but I enjoyed sitting at home, watching it and seeing a lot of the places that I've been. I've been to Barcelona 4 or 5 times over the years. They have an additional problem today over and above there were some reports earlier in the week that the mayor wanted to cut back on cruise passengers and so forth. Barcelona has now suffered a drop in visitors, with hotels, bars, and restaurants feeling the pinch. Figures for last August show that there were 12% fewer hotel bookings than the year before, and prices as a result have fallen. This coincides with the rise of 20.5% in reported crimes over 2018 that have been noted, especially in tourist areas. So basically, there's a lot more crime in Barcelona, and they're targeting tourists. So if you're going on a cruise to Barcelona, or you're in Barcelona, going to Barcelona for any other business, be on guard and know that there's some crime problems in Barcelona now that you need to be aware of and take appropriate precautions. I hate to see it because that's really a city that I dearly love. So let's see what else we have here. Got a couple more rather strange stories. A 14-year-old boy from Raleigh, North Carolina, it's close to me. I'm in Virginia and he's down in North Carolina, was flying as an unaccompanied minor, endured an all-night ordeal after United Airlines directed him onto a plane heading to the wrong country. Brenda Berg, the boy's mother, first tweeted to United just before 5:30 p.m. on Sunday, saying her son was placed on the wrong plane during a transfer at Newark Liberty International Airport. Berg said her son was flying from Raleigh-Durham, connecting to Stockholm, and the ticket was booked through a Scandinavian airline, SAS, because there's not a direct flight from Raleigh to Stockholm. So she had to go Raleigh to Newark, and Newark then to Stockholm. And apparently, despite this lady having to pay $150 extra because he was an unaccompanied minor, they put him on the wrong plane, and a plane was heading for Dusseldorf, Germany. Dusseldorf, Germany is not Stockholm. Folks, I might be weak on geography, but I do know the difference between Sweden and Germany. So, bad situation. finally got it straightened out and got the kid going back. The kid spent an extra like 24 hours on planes, and it was not a good situation at all. Told you this was going to be some weird stories today. Okay. This story has absolutely nothing to do with cruises and travel. But I just thought it was a cool story, so I'm going to relate it. Spending even a little for the good cause does make a difference in society, but in this case, a man has given away a whopping amount from his own pocket. As long as there are good people breathing down their necks to do good, to be good, and to see good, a sense of divine culture continues to shine. I didn't write that, folks. I'm just reading it. Legendary Roger Federer, the tennis great. He's done a lot of extraordinary stuff on the courts, but has also done some off the field as well. Roger Federer spent a colossal sum of $13.5 million to inaugurate 81 schools for the poor in Africa. So this dude, out of his pocket, is starting 81 schools in Africa. I just thought that was a cool story. So hats off to Roger Federer. I've never particularly been a fan, but certainly that was a pretty cool story. All right, the final story today, and again, this is on the travel side. Construction on Beijing's second international airport was completed this week, putting the airport on track to begin its operations by the target of September 30. As Chinese air traffic numbers continue to soar, the country's aviation infrastructure has become more and more crowded. China is on pace to displace the United States as the largest aviation market by 2022. Crowding is particularly acute at airports in major cities like Beijing. The construction, which was wrapped up this week, cost $12.9 billion for the facility. It's called Daxing, D-A-X-I-N-G International Airport. It will put Beijing on the list of major cities with multiple international airports to go along with New York, London, Paris, and Tokyo. And if you saw the, when I promote that I'm going to be going live, one of the rounds had a picture of the airport on it. So you might want to look back over my Facebook page and see that. Okay. A couple other things to touch with, and we'll wrap this up today. I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you want to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, I do some interview shows called Chillie Chats. And Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we come on for a little silliness in the cruise and travel industry news area, like we did today. Now, down in the description of this broadcast, which will become a video shortly, down in the description are links to things like my Facebook page, my Twitter account, which is now approaching, by the way, 15,000 people, which is kind of cool. I just banged my light, so changed the light structure here. And there's some links to things. I mean, I'm like everybody else. I'm trying to make money to pay for this little operation. But I've just added a link this week, and I think I put something on there like, take Michelle Obama with you on your next cruise. here's something you might want to look into, folks. Now, I'm not talking about holding Michelle Obama's hand and going on a cruise with her. Don't take that wrong. Nor am I making any political statement one way or the other. However, it's a best-selling book right now, and the link to it is to Audible. Audible is the service where you can get best-selling books, the audio track, and have the book read to you as opposed to reading the book. If you've never tried Audible, it's a pretty cool service. I use it. I like it. I always have a book on my phone and my tablet. If I listen, like let's say I go on a cruise, I've got my phone in my hand while I'm on the airplane. I plug in my headset and listen to the book as I'm flying. And then let's say I go on the cruise and I pull out my tablet from my luggage and go to Audible on my tablet. It takes me to the right place in the book where I was on the phone. So it's a pretty cool service on any of your tablets or phones or whatever, any of your equipment. Audible itself, they run a special, and folks, don't quote me on this. It's like for $4.95, you get Audible for 3 months, and you get at least one book free, and you get 2 more of their internally generated books. So there's several free books involved. They promote things all the time. And one of the books is the best-selling memoir of Michelle Obama. So there's a link to that. The other thing that's interesting about this is you click on that link and go look at the Audible and all the books that Audible has. And if you end up buying those or join their service for the 3 months for $4.95, I make a few shekels to help support the channel. If I make enough shekels, it'll help go on the next cruise I go on or the next trip I take. The other thing you can do while you're all there, if you want to do any shopping on Amazon, just go ahead and plug it into the search engine and go shop away. And I still make a few little pennies, which is a nice thing. But anyway, you'll find the link to Audible. There's another link to a travel backpack, which is another Amazon product. But anyway, I always appreciate any of that you do to help out the channel. We, as of this morning, we're at 1,338 subscribers, so I'm nowhere near as big as a lot of my friends, like Traveling with Bruce, who I love to death, or Emma with her Cruises Isn't for Old People. Is another one of my favorite people in the world. They're a whole lot bigger than I am. But I'm getting there. I'm growing, and that's a good thing. We're up to 1,338 now. Hopefully 1,350 here this weekend. So that about wraps it up for today. So this is Chillie, the Fat Travel Guide. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. If you're out and about or want to check out something this afternoon at 2 o'clock, is my buddy Traveling with Bruce. He does a live thing at 2 o'clock, which is also, he might talk about cruising, and he might also do some trivia today. And hopefully we'll have an appearance of Mr. Stinky. Mr. Stinky is his daughter's cat, and I'm looking forward to that. So anyway, this is Chillie, the Fat Travel Guide. I'll see you guys Tuesday at 10 a.m. Later, y'all.